Hello, this is Steve Holland, and once again, welcome. In this discussion, I will visit with you about the writing process. That is, how do writers move through the writing process, going from initial idea to finished essay? Well, the writing process includes several steps. Now, writers do not automatically move chronologically from one step to another step to another step, as is listed here. However, somewhere in the process, writers will move back and forth between these stages, sometimes skipping over a couple stages, sometimes going back several times, for instance, to edit and edit and edit. Sometimes writers work in big blocks, and sometimes writers work in small steps. In the pre-writing strategy for getting the idea out of your head onto paper, there is an initial process called brainstorming. Now that is taught where you basically just put down on paper some ideas that occur to you about the topic of which you are writing. It is important that you look at those points that you've written down and determine which ones to scratch out, to leave out, and which ones to include in your essay. If you get enough ideas down on paper, you should be able to see patterns emerge. We call that clustering, pulling your ideas together. And eventually, they should come to you as an outline. That is, you prioritize your ideas as you plan and think about how they might appear in the paper. Now, some people just like to sit down and start writing. They'll write a long first draft. There's nothing wrong with just sitting down and writing out your ideas, but keep in mind that very few of us can ever be completely finished after that first initial draft. What I'm encouraging you to do is to think about what it is you're going to write prior to writing it out. As I said before, writers also work in short bursts of writing. Perhaps one idea is really very clear to you, and you sit and you ponder and you write about it quickly. And the other ideas might take some time to emerge so that you can see them. That's a really nice way to write because with computers helps, of course, we have cutting and pasting. That is, you can move your ideas around within the essay these days very, very easily. In the first draft, you should consider these points. What is the thesis? What is the purpose and direction of your essay? If you get a clear focus, the writing is going to become much easier for you. If you do not have a clear focus, you're just putting thoughts down on paper, and you're hoping that the thesis will appear. And sometimes as a teacher, I see students maybe come up with 2 thesis statements within a paper, sometimes 3. Sometimes on the second page of the paper, it all suddenly appears to them what it is they're writing about, but they forget to go back and, well, start over. One of the things that the first draft must show is that there is a connection between a thesis and the main body, that things are moving smoothly. And into the conclusion, that connection continues with solid reflection. That is, pondering over what was learned, or what points were considered that were important, or maybe even making a prediction about the future. Within the main body, you should also have good examples and explanations. We call that rich detail. Those are the things that support the main ideas of each paragraph. And of course, you should have transitional words and phrases that link together sentences and paragraphs. Finally, you should keep in mind something about your audience. Who is it you're writing to? Now, many of you will be thinking you're writing for the teacher, and of course you are. But it helps if you consider what is the level of education of your audience. Is it male, female, both sexes? How old is the person? Think of those sorts of ideas and you will write a better essay. When you edit, you should ponder these points. What are the common errors you make in grammar? If you don't know what they are, I bet it won't be long before the instructor will point them out to you. You should keep a checklist, because if you aren't consistently working at ridding yourself of those mistakes, I guarantee you'll make those mistakes over and over and over again. You should think about the style you're using, that is, the sentence structure. What kind of diction or vocabulary is your writing including? And how formal is the writing? That leads us into tone. Is your tone academic, emotional, sarcastic? It should be consistent. Tone should be consistent throughout the essay, although it is possible it changes for effect. However, most of us will want to write in a very, very clear, consistent tone, especially for short papers, as most of you will be writing. Again, think about that level of the audience. If you can put that person in your mind of who you're writing to, you will write a better paper because you'll target in on that person's skills. Think about your thesis, your body, your conclusion, those connections. I can't stress that enough. Do these points connect? Are you introducing new ideas that are not covered in the thesis or the conclusion? And what type of essay are you writing? Are you writing a description essay, a comparison and contrast essay, persuasive essay, cause-effect essay? It matters that you are very clear on the format that you're writing, because the format can dictate the meaning of the essay. Now, that's quite a bit of work for the first draft and the editing phases, but you want to make good use of that and sit yourself down and write a second draft. That means you have to give yourself time. No procrastinating the night before the essay's due, because you can already see that if you turn in a first draft, you've skipped all these steps and you will not have a paper that is as polished as it should be. Well, in the second draft, you should consider more brainstorming or doing more research on your topic. You should be sure that you clarify the purpose of your essay. What are you actually writing about? What is the focal point? And in thinking about it more, has that purpose changed? Yes, you'll need to write the entire essay once again. No cutting back on time here. The more you write, the more you work at it, the better this essay is going to be. Check for your inconsistency in tone. Look for shifts in style. Now, sometimes students will be writing in the first person and shift to the second person, or they'll be writing in the present tense and shift to the past tense. Without good reason, one shouldn't be doing that. Check the grammar and spelling once again, and proofread, proofread, proofread. I can't tell you how many times I've written an essay over and over again, only to be shocked that I've left out a word. Now I'm going to ask you to write a third draft, because you just may as well get yourself accustomed to it. It might be needed. But before you write that final draft, I would set aside the second draft and relax. I would check your outline. I would give yourself time to question your thesis. I'd look it over once again for common errors and check transitions. I would do all of that before writing that last and final draft. And let yourself relax a little bit to think about what you've written. I don't know how many times, a good tip I believe is that I've let an essay sit for a while, and an hour, 2 hours, sometimes the next morning, I think about the one error I've made or the one point I've left out. You need to give yourself time to allow that to happen. And finally,